Good afternoon and welcome to All About Animals. My guest today is Garen Fife, and Garen and I go way back. Garen is the founder of ABC, and I'm going to try to get this right, Garen, ABC Humane Wildlife Rescue and Relocation. Did I do it right?
Control and prevention.
Control and prevention. Now, we've changed a
Yeah,
little bit then.
they change things.
They've changed things
They're
around a little
constantly
bit.
making changes.
And I remember when ABC started, I believe you were the only company that captured and relocated animals rather than captured and killed.
That was true.
Yes.
That was true.
I mean, that was kind of your concept. And it goes on, except for those animals that are mandated by the state to be destroyed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk a little bit about what's going outside our windows underneath the snow as the weather begins to turn towards spring. I know my chipmunks are out, and I know you said yours aren't out yet, but
No.
the chipmunks have come out already. The goldfinches are beginning to turn gold. We're beginning to see lots of our migratory birds coming back. What's going on under the snow right now?
Interesting things. Now, this year we had a heavy snow cover and very, very cold winter. And a lot of things can survive a very cold winter if you have a heavy snow cover. Because what it does, it puts a big layer of insulation between the ground and the cold
And
air.
they're very, very cold, yeah.
And so it's very cold up here, but down here it only gets so cold. So you have this kind of even temperature under the snow. And under the snow at the ground level is where the little rodents and things make their trails. And you'll see foxes and coyotes and even polar bears use the technique of pouncing. They'll jump up in the air and they'll put their two paws together as a little small thing, and they'll poke down through the snow and they'll impact the mouse that they hear on the ground. So they'll dive and hit through the snow, pin the mouse down, put their nose down and eat him. That's, you'll hear them, you'll see them cocking their ears to hear exactly where the mouse is. And they'll do this pouncing thing.
Kind of like watching a robin listen for worms, isn't it?
Yeah, but they don't listen, they actually watch. I used to think they listen too, but they don't. They watch, and they look for little microscopic movements. And the way they cock their head, you think they're listening? They're not.
Okay,
They're
I always
watching.
thought they were.
So did I.
Always thought they
So
were.
did I.
So, we're talking about what was going on, and then you said that the snow was a blanket, basically, that protected a lot of animals from the extreme cold. So what's going on right now?
Right now, as the snow begins to melt, you see the trails. People will say, there's all kinds of trails in my grass. Something is destroying it. Nothing is destroying it. What it is, it's exposing those trails that were dug during the winter. They're like little channels under the snow that the mice and things have gone through, and that's their little highways. So that they're being exposed, and as the sun shines on it and it thaws out, the grass grows, and those things disappear. You don't have to worry about them. They're just little channels that are eaten in the grass and trails.
You told me that there are lots of bats this year.
Yes, we have a lot of bat calls this year. And the reason is the weather. It got so cold, and people turned their heat way up, so you have a lot of heat coming up, and you have the cold coming from the outside, and here are the bats trying to stay at a certain temperature so they can stay in hibernation. They don't want to be so warm that their metabolism gets them awake. They don't want to be so cold they begin to freeze and start to move toward warmer temperatures. So this made it very difficult for them to find the sweet spot to stay in. And so they get so cold they have to move toward the warm. The heat is pouring out so much it's waking them up too much, and they have to get it a little colder. So they're trying to adjust their movement, actually moving around within the walls.
Trying to find the right temperature.
Trying to find the sweet spot. And they come through a crack or crevice, and here they are flying around your house. You say, oh my God, I got a bat in the middle of the winter. What's going on? And so we get a call. We go out and we find a colony of bats up in the thing, maybe a small little group or maybe a large group. And we don't want to harm these bats because bats are protected by state law, federal law, and they are so important to the ecology. Bats are like one of the most amazing creatures in the world. They're so fascinating and they're so important. that we want to protect every single one we can.
And they destroy, I know, an awful lot of mosquitoes, don't they?
They eat a lot of harmful insects.
Yes.
And they pollinate. Bats are important pollinators as well. So, and like in some areas in the deserts and the rainforest, their pollination activities are as important as bees for many, many types of flowers.
What about here? Do they pollinate here as well?
Not as much. Mostly here they're insectivores. They're not fruit eaters so much here because you don't have as many fruits coming like you do in a tropical area.
Yeah.
You have fruit after fruit after
So
fruit.
we don't have the fruit bats, we have the
Insectivores.
insectivore bats.
Right.
But God, they destroy, what is it, better than their body weight every day?
Not every day, but they eat absolutely hundreds of millions of mosquitoes. There's a group of free-tailed bats down in Texas that are hundreds of millions. They have actually tons of guano. And you know how much an insect weighs, how much a mosquito weighs? Can you imagine how many mosquitoes had to be eaten to make a ton of guano?
Guano, by the way, is bat poop, for those of you who don't know.
Right.
We've got to be kind here,
Okay.
okay?
But anyway, so bats are unbelievably important. And by the way, that guano is one of the best tomato food fertilizers you can possibly find. They're really, really good.
Well, we're not going to find a whole lot of that here, though. But
depends
yeah,
on
we
your
do.
attic.
We do have a problem here, and a small problem with the fact that bats transmit rabies.
They are one of the vectors of rabies, not an important vector. And well, if you
Any
get bitten by
vector's
it, it's
important,
important, right?
yeah.
But it's not the major vector. Put it that way. But it's something you need to be aware of and need to be cautious of. If you have a bat flying around in your house, and that bat, you'll call somebody and they'll say, "Well, just open the window and let it go out." Well, that seems like common sense, doesn't it? Except most people who are bitten by bats and die of rabies, and rabies is 100% fatal once you're bitten if you don't get,
The
treatment.
shots,
That most of the people, like over 80%, never knew they were bitten because they have such tiny little teeth, and you may have a bat land on you while you're sleeping, and you roll over, and it scratches you, and the scratch is so small that you wake up, you don't even see it. You don't feel it.
Yes, I know.
But there you are.
Because I know that they advise here when they come out to trap a bat that's in a house, they advise that the person get rabies preventative shots, even though the person doesn't remember being bitten, if that bat tests positive.
Okay, if it tests positive.
If it tests positive.
But the thing is, the idea is you can't just let the bat escape. You must have the bat tested.
Absolutely.
So if you have a bat in your house, you don't smash its head, you don't freeze it, you keep the head intact, keep it fresh, refrigerate it without freezing it, call rabies control immediately and have it tested without being smashed or frozen.
And let me jump in and say that if you call rabies control and say there is a bat in your house, they will send someone out to catch it.
Really?
Yes, they will.
I didn't know that. Because
Absolutely.
We're the ones who traditionally have gone out and caught the bat, made sure it was refrigerated, not caught, and we followed the CDC,
The guidelines,
the guidelines, what do they call it, paradigm?
whatever it is.
Whatever they call it. Anyway, it's the CDC protocol,
There you go.
and we follow the CDC protocol on all.
But I know
Animal.
that Lake County Animal Control will come out on a bat in the house specifically because there's a possibility and they want to
Good.
catch and test.
Well, that's good and responsible. Thank you, Lake County Animal Control.
Let's move a little bit away from bats and talk about, you said there were babies being born already in the woods?
Yeah, we had the first raccoon babies born this week,
A little early,
a little early.
not a whole lot of food out there.
No, but mother raccoons are good mothers. They're amazingly good mothers.
And now here's what concerned me about this harsh winter, and it was a harsh winter, and there wasn't much food, and my concern was those animals which are pregnant in the winter and deliver in the spring, are they malnourished? Are they having problems feeding their babies?
Well, I have a lot of deer over in the area where I frequent, and they look healthy as can be.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing any malnourished looking deer.
thank heavens.
Yeah.
Thank
So I mean, the overcrowding has been abated pretty much. A few years back, we had some severe deer overcrowding. We were having starvation, having all kinds of problems with with land damage to landowners and cars being hit, people being injured, families being injured by deer being struck by cars, deer being injured and wandering off, dying slow, painful deaths.
We talked about skunks too, and this, you said the skunks are making nests about now?
Oh, the skunks are mating now.
Oh my goodness.
They're mating now. They nest in burrows, and they'll often go under a log or under a boulder, under some kind of a structure. So they like to dig up next to something and go under something. And one of the places we find them very, very often is under the stoops in people's, around their porch.
That's appealing.
Where they enter and exit. Mailmen don't like it either, believe me. So,
I've got to tell you. I'm trying to think of what else we can run through really quick because we've only got a couple minutes left, Garrett.
baby animals in the spring.
Yeah, the rule of thumb is don't touch.
Don't touch them because mother animals do not abandon their babies. If you find a mother animal dead that's lactating and you see the babies right there, in a case like that,
Call
someone who's licensed and experienced and knows what to do with them. Don't just pick them up and do something. If they're on the road or something like that, you may box them up and sit them off on the side.
And Mama will find them.
Yeah.
And I want to add one thing here which we haven't touched on, which is if you touch a baby bird and put it back in its nest if it's fallen out, mother birds aren't going to smell your hands and stay away from their babies. They will continue to care for them.
They don't even have a sense of smell. It's a myth. It's a myth made up to keep kids from playing with the baby animals and leaving them away from the nest.
Okay.
Put them in the nest. That's the best thing.
That's the best. And with fawns, does do not stay near their fawns all day. They leave them alone.
Because they don't have a smell. The babies don't have a smell. The mother does. If the mother hangs around them, her smell will attract predators to the baby by staying away from them, like baby rabbits. Rabbit mothers stay away from their babies for the same reason. They don't have a smell. They hold perfectly still, and that's their way of protecting themselves from the predator. They don't smell.
They don't smell, they don't move, they don't get seen, they don't get et.
Right.
That's the bottom line. But bottom line, and we're going to end with this because we really are out of time, Gary.
Don't touch.
Don't touch them. If you hear, and I say, if you hear a fawn and it's crying and it's been crying for 2 days or maybe 3 days, chances are Mama's not coming back. Call someone who knows what they're doing.
Right. Don't take it upon yourself to just grab it, because you may be kidnapping that baby.
Yeah. And
Mother's
Mama may
watching
come
from the woods.
Mm-hmm. Mama may come back and say, "Where's my baby?" Garen, we're out of time. ABC does a wonderful job of animal-proofing houses, which they've done for me, very frankly. They also are great if you've got something in your house that's not been invited, that needs to be removed. Garen,
Crazy brother-in-laws, things like that.
You got it. That's the one they send you out on. I understand. We will take you now to Save a Pet and show you some of the dogs and cats available there for adoption.